Did you know in the books, Dani and Jon's stories mirror each other? For example, in Book 1, Jon and Dani arrive at a new place where they must call home for the rest of their lives, i.e. the Wall and the Dothraki Sea. In Book 2, they venture out into extreme conditions on a perilous journey. Dani goes into the Red Waste and Qarth, while Jon ventures north of the Wall and is captured by wildlings. In Book 3, both of them rise up into positions of power, with Dani conquering 3 cities and becoming Queen of Meereen, while Jon defends the Wall against a wildling army and becomes Lord Commander. Book 5 has Dani and Jon dealing with the burden of ruling justly, and ultimately, both of them are unable to achieve what they would like, which might signify Dani and Jon becoming more ruthless and destructive in Book 6, The Winds of Winter. It might not have been Daenerys who birthed her dragons, but the red comet scene at the very beginning of A Clash of Kings, or Season 2 of the show. This is because previous Targaryens have done what Daenerys did and tried to hatch dragons, only to fail and get themselves killed, like Aerion Brightflame or the tragedy at Summerhall. The red comet is believed to be a Volcran, a giant spacefaring creature that lives in space from George R.R. Martin's Night Flyers series. This creature enhances human telekinetic powers and wakes dormant energy similar to turning stone dragon eggs into fire-made flesh. This is why, after the red comet, Melisandre is able to birth shadow babies, and magic seems to be more apparent in the Game of Thrones universe. Meaning, had the Volcran not arrived, Daenerys would have just burnt up with Khal Drogo in the funeral pyre. Having emerged from the funeral pyre with 3 hatched dragons at the end of the previous season, Daenerys Targaryen finds herself and her diminished Khalasar stranded in the Red Waste, a vast barren desert. Their situation is perilous. They are without sufficient water or food, and Daenerys' horse, Silver, given to her by Khal Drogo, succumbs and dies. However, in the books, Daenerys' horse is still alive and well, and instead it was Dora who died here, whereas in the show, they had her betray Daenerys and be left to die in Xaro's vault at the end of Season 2. Daenerys is determined to find a safe refuge for her people and sends 3 of her blood riders in different directions to scout for any signs of civilization or sanctuary. However, what's interesting is that in the books, they find a mysterious abandoned city called Vaes Tolero that the show cut out, unfortunately, but holds some scary mysteries. Daenerys Targaryen and her Khalasar are let immediately into the city of Qarth, unlike in the TV show. The city residents warmly welcome Daenerys and her followers. It is also implied in the books that Xaro is homosexual, because when he offers to sleep with Daenerys, she rejects him, and he looks almost relieved. In Qarth, Daenerys meets Quaithe, one of the most mysterious characters in the book series, who warns her, "You must leave this city soon, or you will never be permitted to leave it at all." Daenerys realizes that Quaithe wants her to go to Asshai, and when she asks why, the Shadowbinder tells her it is there she will find the truth. The show had Quaithe only interact with Jorah, which is a shame since, in the book, she sends visions and warnings to Daenerys through glass candle magic. Daenerys is being sent dragon dreams to keep her alive. For example, Daenerys had a dream before her wedding to Khal Drogo that gave her courage to ride a horse, something she was not trained at, so well that it impressed Khal Drogo. Next, while on the Dothraki Sea, her body could not handle riding for more than 10 hours every day. She even thought to herself, Dani knew she could not endure a moment longer. She would kill herself rather than go on, she decided one night. Yet, when she slept that night, she dreamt the dragon dream again, where a dragon bathes her in fire, but she says, and yet there was no pain. She felt strong and new and fierce. And the next day, strangely, she did not seem to hurt quite so much. It was as if the gods had heard her and taken pity. Now, did Quaithe send that dragon dream, or was it someone else? Daenerys has extremely complicated feelings towards Jorah, despite him making advances on her while being 50 and her 14. And yet, she still thinks of him as my bear. My bear, she thought, my old sweet bear, who loved me and betrayed me. She had missed him so. She wanted to see his ugly face, to wrap her arms around him and press herself against his chest. You betrayed me. You informed on me for gold. Jorah, for home. home was all I ever wanted. And me, you wanted me. Dani had seen it in his eyes. You kissed me. I never said you could, but you did. You sold me to my enemies, but you meant it when you kissed me. Jorah, I gave you good counsel. You did. So Daenerys has a very weird sense of loyalty to him, and him to her. Daenerys always loved Khal Drogo even after their wedding night, which was the complete opposite of the TV show, which obviously went for shock value rather than treating Khal Drogo as the complex, nuanced character that he is. The Daenerys-Drogo relationship was quite healthy in the books, which the show tried to do later, but that kind of relied on the viewer forgetting what happened at the start. Daenerys thinks about Khal Drogo when she takes Daario into bed. Khal Drogo could be cruel as well, and she had come to love him all the same. Could I love Daario? What would it mean if I took him into my bed? Would that make him one of the heads of the dragon? Ser Jorah would be angry, she knew, but he was the one who'd said she had to take 2 husbands. Perhaps I should marry them both and be done with it. George R.R. Martin wrote that Daenerys Targaryen was 13 years old at the start of A Game of Thrones. But was that too young? Because even though in medieval times, young girls were married off after they were flowered, which means the book are historically accurate. However, with Khal Drogo being in his early 30s, should Daenerys have been aged up by at least 4 years? Not saying that 17 makes it okay, but 13 is too young for what she goes through. The only reasoning behind making Daenerys so young is that it means she is the same age as Jon, and the two are meant to parallel each other. And George couldn't make Jon older, since he needs to be conceived during Robert's rebellion for the lie to make sense. And George's idea is that Jon and Dani were conceived and born during this rebellion, and the inheritors of its outcome. So, making Dani older weakens the Jon and Dani parallel. The night before Daenerys got her unsullied army, she was visited by Quaithe in a dream, who tells her, to go north, you must journey south. To reach the west, you must go east. To go forward, you must go back. And to touch the light, you must pass beneath the shadow. When the time for the deal to be brokered arrives, Daenerys swings the slaver's whip in Rhaenys' face and releases Drogon on him, shouting, Dracarys. This is the sign for her followers to attack the slavers, with the help of the Unsullied who obey her, as she is now their owner, and the other slaves of Astapor join her. Unsullied, Dani galloped before them, slay the good masters, slay the soldiers, slay every man who wears a tokar or holds a whip, but harm no child under 12, and strike the chains of every slave you see. This is how she conquered Astapor. Daario was a much more evil character and a butcher. But this is how he convinced Daenerys to take him into her bed after months of flirting. Your clothes are stained with blood, she told Daario. Take them off. Only if you do the same. He kissed her. His hair smelled of blood and smoke and horse. Dani trembled in his arms. Promise me that you will never turn against me. I could not bear that. Promise me. Never, my love. She believed him. I swore that I should wed Hizdahr zo Llarich, but now I wanted you from the first time I saw you. But you were a sellsword, fickle, treacherous. You boasted that you'd had 100 women. 100? Daario chuckled through his purple beard. I lied, sweet queen. It was 1,000. But never once a dragon. She raised her lips to his. What are you waiting for? Daenerys hated the Starks, and here's the evidence. Stark was a traitor who met a traitor's end. Your Grace, said Selmy. Eddard Stark played a part in your father's fall, but he bore you no ill will. When the eunuch Varys told us that you were with child, Robert wanted you killed, but Lord Stark spoke against it. Rather than allow the murder of children, he told Robert to find himself another hand. Have you forgotten Princess Rhaenys and Prince Aegon? Never. That was Lannister work, Your Grace. Lannister or Stark, what difference? Viserys used to call them the usurper's dogs. If a child is set upon by a pack of hounds, does it matter which one tears out his throat? All the dogs are just as guilty. The guilt. And this shows that Daenerys didn't like the Starks, as she saw all houses as equal traitors. Daenerys gave a really good line as she parleys with Prendal, who leads the Stormcrows until Daario kills him. Prendal says, You would do well to take your rebel elsewhere. You took Astapor by treachery, but Yunkai shall not fall so easily. 500 of your Stormcrows against 10,000 of my Unsullied, said Dani. I am only a young girl and do not understand the ways of war. Yet, these odds seem poor to me. Join me now, however, and you shall keep the gold the Yunkai paid you, but fight with the wise masters, and your wages will be death. Do you imagine that Yunkai will open its gates when my Unsullied are butchering you beneath the walls? Woman, you bray like an ass and make no more sense. Woman, she chuckled, is that meant to insult me? I would return the slap if I took you for a man. Dani met his stare. George based the Valyrian Empire closely on the Roman Empire in terms of its size, infrastructure, and collapse, meaning that Daenerys and Viserys could be considered the last Romans known. The Roman Empire collapsed due to a variety of several factors including war, economics, and instability, whereas the Valyrian freehold literally exploded and collapsed in a vast volcano. The doom of Valyria is clearly inspired by both Pompeii and the legend of Atlantis. Pompeii was also destroyed by a volcano eruption in a manner very similar to the doom of Valyria, while the legend of Atlantis is not historical, but its cultural influence can be seen in Valyria, a highly advanced civilization that is destroyed by a terrible catastrophe. Lastly, Aegon the Conqueror was based on Queen Elizabeth's great ancestor, William the Conqueror, since both of them invaded and subjugated Westeros and England respectively after the collapse of Rome. Daenerys' thoughts when going into Khal Drogo's funeral pyre were very unhinged and might even be seen as suicidal. Daenerys thought to herself, only death can pay for life. The smoke stirred and whirled around her, and the pyre shifted. She heard the screams of frightened horses, and the voices of the Dothraki raised in shouts of fear and terror. And Ser Jorah called her name and cursing. No, she wanted to shout to him. No, my good knight, do not fear. The fire is mine. I am Daenerys Stormborn, mother of dragons. Don't you see? Don't you see? With a belch of flame and a smoke that reached 30 feet into the sky, the pyre collapsed and came down around her. Unafraid, Dani stepped forward into the firestorm. There is a good theory that Mirri Maz Duur is the one who accidentally saved Daenerys Targaryen here, since in the books, Dani is not fireproof. Mirri Maz Duur betrayed and killed Daenerys' child to save the world. Daenerys tells her, "You cheated me, you murdered my child within me. The stallion who mounts the world will burn no cities now. His Khalasar shall trample no nations into dust. I spoke for you," she said anguished. "Saved you. Saved me," the Lazarian woman spat. "3 riders had taken me. The 4th was about to take me when you rode past. How then did you save me? I saw my god's house burn where I had healed good men beyond counting. My home they burnt as well, and in the street I saw piles of head. I saw the head of a boy I had saved from dead-eye fever. I heard children crying as the riders drove them off with their whips. Tell me again what you saved. Your life." Mirri Maz Duur laughed cruelly. "Look at your Khal and see what life is worth when all the rest is gone." Daenerys Targaryen, as Queen of Meereen, is forced to dress like them by wearing a tokar. She describes wearing one as so. Walking in a tokar demanded small, mincing steps and exquisite balance. It was not a garment meant for any man who had to work. The tokar was a master's garment, a sign of wealth and power. Dani had wanted to ban the tokar when she took Meereen, but her advisors had convinced her otherwise. The mother of dragons must don the tokar or be forever hated, warned the green gaze, Galaza Galar. In the walls of Westeros, or a gown of Myrish lace, your radiance shall forever remain a stranger amongst us, a grotesque outlander, a barbarian conqueror. Meereen's queen must be a lady of old Gis. Brown Ben Plum, the captain of the Second Sons, had put it more succinctly. Man wants to be the king of the rabbits, he'd best wear a pair of floppy ears. Daenerys gets given a prophecy by Quaithe that reads, "Hear me, Daenerys Targaryen. The glass candles are burning. Soon comes the pale mare, and after her the others. Kraken and dark flame, lion and griffin, the sun's son and the murmur's dragon. Trust none of them. Remember the undying." So we know that's true. Second, the pale mare is the plague that is coming to Meereen. The Kraken and Dark Flame are obviously Victarion Greyjoy and Moqorro. The lion is Tyrion Lannister, the griffin is Jon Connington, and the two are even travelling together. Then Quaithe says the sun's son, which is Quentyn Martell, and the Murmur's dragon we think is Phaegon, the supposed son of Elia and Rhaegar, and Varys' false Targaryen. This is what happened when Daenerys slept with Hizdahr. Dani recounts, The excitement of the day had inflamed her husband's passions. No sooner had her handmaids retired for the night than he tore the robe from her and tumbled her backwards into bed. Dani slid her arms around him and let him have his way. Drunk as he was, she knew he would not be inside her long, nor was he. Afterward, he nuzzled at her ear and whispered, "Gods grant that we have made a son tonight." Her noble husband was soon fast asleep. Daenerys could only twist and turn beside him. She wanted to shake him, wake him, make him hold her, kiss her, F her again, but he would fall back to sleep again afterward. She wondered what Daario was doing. Was he thinking about her? Did he love her truly? I should never have taken him into my bed. He was only a sellsword, no fit consort for a queen. And yet, Emilia Clarke, or Daenerys Targaryen, suffered a life-threatening stroke that nearly killed her between seasons 1 and 2 of Game of Thrones. That was ultimately caused by the stress and strain of becoming famous and her body being scrutinized over. She described it as, "I was terrified of the attention, terrified of a business I barely understood, and the faith that the creators of thrones had put in me." This included the nudity required by Emilia to perform in the first few seasons of the show. In the very first episode, I appeared naked, and from the first press junket onward, I always got the same question, some variation of, "You play such a strong woman, and yet you take off your clothes. Why?" Clarke says that she hit the gym more often, and this is where she first collapsed from an aneurysm. Though she was rushed to the hospital, Clarke discovered she would have to have immediate surgery at just 24. Emilia Clarke, who plays Daenerys, opened up about feeling pressured into doing her nude scenes on Game of Thrones because she was told not to disappoint her fans. In an interview on Armchair Expert, the 33-year-old actress reflected on her early days in Hollywood as a newcomer. Since having joined the HBO series fresh out of drama school, Clarke acknowledged feeling overwhelmed by the unexpected demands of the role, particularly the numerous nude scenes in season 1. She also said that she'll be forever grateful to her co-star, Jason Momoa, for looking out for her in those early days, stating that the Aquaman actor always took care of her, in an environment in which I didn't know I needed to be taken care of. Emilia Clarke recounts Jason asking someone on the set, "Can we get her a robe? She's shivering. He was so kind and considerate, and cared about me as a human being." Daenerys Targaryen's decision not to attack King's Landing at the beginning of Season 7 can be seen as a strategic blunder for several reasons. Firstly, delaying the assault allowed Cersei Lannister to strengthen her position by securing alliances with the Greyjoys, which would somehow be used to wipe out Daenerys' Martell allies in a single night, making the task of taking King's Landing much more challenging. Whereas, if Daenerys had capitalized on her overwhelming military advantage early on, how could Cersei hold King's Landing against 3 dragons, Daenerys' Dothraki, and Unsullied besieging her? Even if Daenerys didn't take the city right away, the Tyrells and Martells could make their way to her by land and support her with food, whereas Cersei would starve inside King's Landing with only one Lannister army, and even if she got Randyll Tarly, Sam's dad, to come to her aid, we saw what happened to him and the Lannister army when they faced just one of Daenerys' dragons. In the 1993 and 1994 drafts of A Game of Thrones, Dani didn't receive her dragon eggs as wedding presents from Illyrio Mopatis, but instead discovered them after Khal Drogo, who was eviler in this version, killed Viserys because he had no intentions of ever helping him reclaim the Seven Kingdoms and planned to keep Daenerys for himself. Therefore, Daenerys kills Khal Drogo and flees from the Dothraki into the wilderness beyond Vaes Dothrak. There, in a cave, she discovers a cache of dragon eggs. This version is quite interesting, but we prefer Khal Drogo actually being a good guy over this version of him. Also, Viserys' demise being of his own doing feels more apt to his character. Next, the dragon eggs hatching from Khal Drogo's funeral pyre is such a memorable end to the book that we definitely prefer the version George R.R. Martin went ahead with. Daenerys spent her whole life thinking she would marry Viserys and was quite perplexed that she was being married off, when to her, Targaryens marrying brother to sister was what was normal. When Viserys and Daenerys wandered the free cities for years, they visited Myr, Tyrosh, Qohar, Volantis, and Lys. While at first they were welcomed by magisters and archons and merchant princes, with time their interest in the last Targaryens faded. Daenerys and Viserys had to sell their last few treasures and eventually their mother's crown. Selling their mother's crown took the last of Viserys' joy, leaving only rage. Once when Daenerys and Viserys were on their way to Braavos by ship, Daenerys expressed interest to her brother how fine it would be to be a sailor. Angry, Viserys twisted her hair until she cried, because Viserys had often told her that their line must be kept pure. Daenerys did a lot of preparation before eating the horse heart. For a week or two, Dany dined on bowls of half-clotted blood to accustom herself to the taste, and Irri made her chew strips of dried horseflesh until her jaws were aching. She then starved herself for a day and a night before the ceremony in the hopes that hunger would help keep down the raw meat. However, she describes the wild stallion's heart as all muscle and had to constantly chew each small mouthful until it was small enough to swallow. She even used her nails to try and rip it apart. Khal Drogo stood over her as she ate, his face as hard as a bronze shield. His long black braid was shiny with oil. She looked at him whenever she felt her strength failing. Towards the end, Dany thought she glimpsed a fierce pride in his dark, almond-shaped eyes, but she could not be sure. Daenerys grew up on stories of Westeros from her brother, so that one day she would believe it was hers. In the Free Cities, they talked of Westeros and the Sunset Kingdoms. Her brother had a simpler name. Our Land, he called it. The words were like a prayer with him. If he said them enough, the gods were sure to hear. Ours by blood right, taken from us by treachery, but ours still. Ours forever. You do not steal from the dragon. Oh no, the dragon remembers. And perhaps the dragon did remember, but Dany could not. She had never seen this land her brothers said was theirs. This realm beyond the narrow sea. These places he talked of, Castle Rock and the Eyrie, High Garden and the Vale of Arryn, they were just words to her. Viserys had been a boy of 8 when they fled King's Landing to escape the advancing armies of the usurper. Daenerys knew better than to trust Illyroy Mopatis when her brother tells her, "A gift from the Magister Illyroy," Viserys said, smiling. Her brother was in a high mood tonight. "The color will bring out the violet in your eyes, and you shall have gold as well, Illyroy has promised. Tonight you must look like a princess." A princess, Dany thought. She had forgotten what that was like. "Why does he give us so much?" she asked. For nigh on half a year they had lived in the Magister's house, eating his food, pampered by his servants. Dany was 13, old enough to know that such gifts seldom come without their price. "Illyroy is no fool," Viserys said. He was a gaunt young man with nervous hands and a feverish look in his pale lilac eyes. "The Magister knows that I will not forget my friends when I come into my throne. But Illyroy has no intention for Viserys to become king." Daenerys Targaryen actually fed her dragons when they were first born into the wild. In A Game of Thrones, it's described as, "The cream and gold dragon was suckling at her left, the green and bronze at the right. Her arms cradled them close. The black and scarlet beast was draped across her shoulders, its long sinuous neck coiled under her chin. When it saw Jorah, it raised its head and looked at him, with eyes as red as coals." Daenerys plans to have 2 husbands who can ride her other 2 dragons, Viserion and Rhaegal. While in Meereen, Daenerys is afraid of being betrayed and thinks to herself, there at least she could rely on, or so she hoped, Grey Worm, Irri, Jeekwe, Missandei, Brown Ben Plum, and Daario beside him, glittering in gold. As she looked at them, Dany found herself wondering which of them would betray her next. This is where she decides to have 2 husbands. The dragon has 3 heads. There are 2 men in the world who I can trust, if I can find them. I will not be alone then. We will be 3 against the world, like Aegon and his sisters. Daenerys actually considers Jorah as one of her husbands since he has always been loyal and devoted to her. But this was before she found out he betrayed her. What would have happened if Viserys hadn't gotten himself killed and instead lived a few weeks longer? Well, once Drogo died and Daenerys gave birth to her dragons, Viserys probably would have claimed one of the dragons for himself, probably the Silver Cream one. And just imagine how terrifying Viserys would have been with a dragon of his own. He truly could make true on his threats and try to rally the Seven Kingdoms against Joffrey with his own dragon, since he would not have waited around in Slaver's Bay like Daenerys. Honestly, it actually makes for a pretty interesting story. Like, what if after Renly died, Viserys put himself forward to marry Margaery with a small dragon? Or, instead, he marries Ariana Martell and rallies Dorne behind himself and his dragon? Illyroy and Varys probably would have gotten one of the dragons to young Fagon, meaning he would have 3 Targaryens, each with a dragon. While Targaryens have silver blonde hair in the show, they are not completely accurate representations of their family's trait. In the books, Targaryens also have violet eyes, which would have given them an even more distinct look in the Game of Thrones world. So why didn't the show keep it? The simple reason is that the colored contact lenses are a pain to wear, and Emilia Clarke and Harry Lloyd, who play Daenerys and Viserys Targaryen, also had difficulty conveying emotions with them on. George R.R. Martin pushed back against claims that Daenerys was a white savior during the Misa scene. This is because, in the show, Dany freed slaves in Essos who were notably all brown. However, Martin clarified that those scenes were shot in Morocco, and the showrunners were simply working with the extras that they had. Most of these people have obviously not read the books. If they had, they would know there is no racial component to slavery as practiced on Essos. It is based on Roman and Greek slavery, who were just as willing to enslave other Greeks and Romans as they were Celts, Goths, Germans, and Africans. It's on the page. Sadly, the show definitely portrayed Slaver's Bay as more the Middle East than the Mediterranean, which is probably more how it should have been portrayed, with the slavers making up every kind of ethnicity and background to show that it was just business. There's another Martell player in the A Song of Ice and Fire books named Quentyn Martell. In the show, Dorne more or less becomes a joke following Oberyn's death. However, they still have major political plans and ambitions in the books, and one of them is having Doran Martell's second eldest child, Quentyn, marry Daenerys. Unfortunately, when Quentyn meets Dany in Meereen, she rejects him, probably because he is not that conventionally attractive. However, Quentyn still plans on taming Daenerys' third dragon, Viserion, only to end up being cooked by dragonfire by Rhaegal, who sneaks up behind him. However, there is a crazy theory that he actually survived. The burnt body is not his, which means he might have successfully stolen a dragon and will bring this dragon back to Westeros so he can have a second dance of the dragons. There is going to be a second dance of the dragons between Daenerys and Aegon Targaryen. However, the TV show chose to omit young Griff, or Aegon Targaryen. He's another contender for the Iron Throne, and if he is in fact a real Targaryen, being the son of Rhaegar, he has a more valid claim than Daenerys. It's unclear why the showrunners decided not to include him, but there's no doubt that his presence could have helped the show, since Daenerys' descent to madness would have been more natural if she had another contender to compete with who the small folk loved more than her. Varys' motivations would make more sense. Tyrion would not be as aimless or underutilized, and Dorne would support Aegon, showing their political ambitions. Not having Aegon led to a major lack of narrative depth and diminished plot lines for all those characters and families as a result. Daenerys jokes to Ser Barristan that ruling requires iron cheek due to the discomfort of sitting for long hours. The next day, she finds her chair stacked with pillows. It's interesting to note that Aegon the Conqueror once said a king should never sit easy, which is why he commanded his armorers to forge a dangerous throne to sit upon. Is this going to foreshadow Daenerys and her cutting herself on the Iron Throne like it did to her father, the Mad King, Rhaenyra and Joffrey? Daario Naharis did not sneak into Dany's tent while she was bathing. In the show, he is able to get past Dany's guards, including Ser Barristan and her Unsullied, to bring the heads of his accomplices. This either highlights how impressive he is, or how poorly Dany is guarded in her tent. That said, in the books, he was actually caught by the Unsullied and then brought to Dany in her tent. He is only spared because he has his fellow commanders' heads and pledges his allegiance to her. Was Daenerys Targaryen raised in Dorne? In one of her chapters, it was said that they lived in Braavos, in the big house with the red door with a lemon tree outside her window. The only problem is lemons cannot grow in the Braavosi climate. In A Storm of Swords, when Angui suggested eating food with lemons, Shanna replied, "Lemons? And where would we get these lemons? Does this look like Dorne to you, you freckled fool?" This, among other clues, suggests that Dany was actually brought up in Dorne or Essos. It is Jorah who says, "Blood of my blood," when Daenerys emerges with her dragons in the Season 1 finale. However, in the books, before Drogo's funeral pyre, Dany asked the Dothraki riders if they are willing to pledge their blood to her. They all refuse, saying they could never serve a woman, and that they plan to send her to Vaes Dothrak with all the other widowers. That said, when Dany emerges with the dragons, those same Dothrakis all fall on their knees and pledge, "Blood of my blood." Which version do you think was better? Comment below. Daenerys Targaryen was almost poisoned by honey locusts in Meereen. It was a gift from her husband, Hizdahr, but Dany refused, instead letting strong Belwas eat them. Belwas gets ill and Barristan launches a coup to get Hizdahr, the prime suspect, removed from power. But it makes little sense in being Hizdahr, especially after Dany accepted his wish for the fighting pits to be reopened. Instead, it was likely Skahaz Mokandek, or Shavepate, the Littlefinger of Essos, whose lower-class noble family is hated by Hizdahr's. So Willem Darry, who smuggled Daenerys and Viserys out of Westeros, signed a secret pact of alliance with Doran Martell between Dorne and House Targaryen in Braavos. The alliance was to be sealed by a marriage between Viserys and Princess Arianna Martell. Dany only learns of this many years later when Quentyn Martell arrives in Meereen to propose a marriage between the two of them, given that Viserys was now dead. Could the plan now shift to Arianna possibly marrying another Targaryen in Aegon? There's no guarantee that Jon Snow kills Daenerys Targaryen in the books like he did in the show. In fact, this was virtually confirmed by D.B. Weiss, one of the Game of Thrones showrunners. I think the final scene between Jon and Daenerys is something we came up with sometime in the midst of the 3rd season of the show. The broad strokes of it anyway. But there was a tremendous amount of pressure to get it right, cause we know that this is not a scene that's giving people what they want. Weiss also added that he and David Benioff planned 90% of the story for the final season well in advance, and even planned for the Iron Throne to be melted away. This is even more proof that the books, if they do get finished, will have a different ending. Jorah cautions Daenerys about King Robert's death. Khaleesi, the 7 kingdoms are not going to fall into your hands like so many ripe peaches. You will need a fleet, gold, armies, alliances. All this I know. Sometimes he thinks of me as a child he must protect, and sometimes as a woman he would like to bed, but does he ever truly see me as his queen? I am not the frightened girl you met in Pentos. I have counted only 15 named days true, but mine is the blood of the dragon. As was your brother's, he said stubbornly. I am not Viserys. No, he admitted. There is more of Rhaegar in you, I think. But even Rhaegar could be slain. Robert proved that on the Trident, with no more than a warhammer. Even dragons can die. Dragons die. She stood on her toes to kiss him lightly on his unshaven cheek. But so do dragon slayers. Daenerys Targaryen was somewhat offended that she wasn't the target of a poison attempt while she was in Qarth. This is because it showed the pureborn of Qarth didn't see her as a serious threat. The pureborn were notorious for offering poisoned wine to those they thought dangerous. But they had not given Dani so much as a cup of water. They never saw me for a queen, she thought bitterly. I was only an afternoon's amusement, a horse girl with a curious pet. Daenerys missed her brother while sailing. If he had been wiser and more patient, it would be him sailing west to take the throne that was his by rights. Viserys had been stupid and vicious, she had come to realize, yet sometimes she missed him all the same. Not the cruel, weak man he had become by the end, but the brother who had sometimes let her creep into his bed, the boy who told her tales of the Seven Kingdoms and talked of how much better their lives would be once he claimed his crown. Whitebeard fears that if Dani uses the slave army, Westeros will unite against her. You have lived long in the world, Whitebeard. Now that you have seen them, what do you say? I say no, your grace, the old man answered at once. Why? She asked. Speak freely, my queen. There have been no slaves in the Seven Kingdoms for thousands of years. The old gods and the new alike hold slavery to be an abomination, evil. If you should land in Westeros at the head of a slave army, many good men will oppose you for no other reason than that. You will do great harm to your cause, and to the honor of your house. Yet I must have some army, Dani said. The boy Joffrey will not give me the Iron Throne for asking politely. When the day comes that you raise your banners, half of Westeros will be with you, Whitebeard promised. Your brother Rhaegar is still remembered with great love. And my father? Initially, Dani didn't intimidate cranies at all. I must consider carefully, the slaver shrugged. Tell her to consider quickly. There are many other buyers. Only 3 days past I showed the same unsullied to a Corsair king who hopes to buy them all. The Corsair wanted only 100, your worship. Dani heard the slave girl say. He poked her with the end of the whip. Corsairs are all liars. He'll buy them all. Tell her that, girl. Dani knew that she would take more than 100, if she took any at all. Remind your good master of who I am. Remind him that I am Daenerys Stormborn, mother of dragons, the unburnt, true-born queen of the Seven Kingdoms of Westeros. My blood is the blood of Aegon the Conqueror and of old Valyria before him. Yet her words did not move the plump, perfumed slaver, even when rendered in his own ugly tongue. Old Gis ruled an empire when the Valyrians were still effing sheep. Dani wasn't sure how many people would greet her arrival in Westeros positively. Your grace, you have no need of slaves. Magister Illyroy can keep you safe while your dragons grow, and send secret envoys across the narrow sea on your behalf, to sound out the High Lords for your cause. Those same High Lords who abandoned my father to the Kingslayer and bent the knee to Robert the Usurper. Even those who bent their knees may yearn in their hearts for the return of the dragons. May, said Dani. That was such a slippery word. May. Cranies continued to offer and insult Daenerys in front of her because he thought she didn't understand. Tell the that if she requires a guide to our sweet city, Cranies will gladly serve her, and service her as well, if she is more woman than she looks. Good Maester Cranies would be most pleased to show you Astapor while you ponder, your grace, the translator said. I will feed her jelly dog brains and a fine rich stew of red octopus and unborn puppy, he wiped his lips. Many delicious dishes can be had here, he says. Dorkwar's Pit has a fine folly scheduled for the evening, a bear and 3 small boys. 1 boy will be rolled in honey, 1 in blood, and 1 in rotting fish. And she may wager on which the bear will eat first. Dani made herself smile. I have my own bear on Balerion, she told the translator, and he may well eat me if I do not return to him. Dani will not leave Astapor without an army. When I leave Astapor, it must be with an army, Ser Jorah says. Ser Jorah was a slaver himself, your grace, the old man reminded her. There are sellswords in Pentos and Myr and Tyrosh you can hire. My brother visited Pentos, Myr, Bravos, near all the free cities. The magisters and archons fed him wine and promises, but his soul was starved to death. A man cannot sup from the beggar's bowl all his life and stay a man. I had my taste in Karth. That was enough. I will not come to Pentos bowl in hand. Better to come a beggar than a slaver, Arstan said. There speaks one who has been neither. Dani's nostrils flared. Do you know what it is like to be sold, squire? I do. My brother sold me to Khal Drogo for the promise of a golden crown. Do you think I have forgotten how it felt to be afraid? Whitebeard insists that Dani should not be corrupted by Astapor. An old city this, she reflected, but not so populous as it was in its glory, nor near so crowded as Karth or Pentos or Lys. Her litter came to a sudden halt at the cross street, to allow a couple of slaves to shuffle across her path, urged along by the crack of an overseer's lash. There were no unsullied, Dani noted, but a more common sort of men. "Bricks and blood built Astapor," Whitebeard murmured at her side, "and bricks and blood her people." "What is that?" Dani asked him, curious. "An old rhyme a maester taught me when I was a boy. I never knew how true it was. The bricks of Astapor are red with the blood of the slaves who make them." "I can well believe that," said Dani. "Then leave this place before your heart turns to brick as well. Sail this very night, on the evening tide." "Would that I could," thought Dani. Dani was scared her baby dragons would burn down the ship when she went to meet with the Unsullied. Did any of them try to burn their way free? That was the thing that frightened Dani the most. No, Khaleesi. Drogon breathed his fire, but in the empty air. The slaver men feared to come near him. She kissed Irri's hand where Drogon had bitten it. "I'm sorry he hurt you. Dragons are not meant to be locked up in a small ship's cabin. Dragons are like horses in this," Irri said, "and riders too. The horses scream below, Khaleesi, and kick at the wooden walls. I hear them. And Jikwi says the old women and the little ones scream too when you are not here. They do not like this water cart. They do not like the black salt sea." "I know," Dani said. "I do, I know. My Khaleesi is sad." "Yes," Dani admitted. "Sad and lost." Whitebeard begged Daenerys not to sell a dragon. "Give me all," Daenerys said, "and you may have a dragon." Whitebeard stared in shocked disbelief. His hand trembled where it grasped the staff. "No, Your Grace, I beg you. Win your throne with dragons, not slaves. You must not do this thing. You must not presume to instruct me. Ser Jorah, remove Whitebeard from my presence." Mormont seized the old man and marched him out. "Tell them I await their answer." She knew the answer though. She could see it in the glitter of their eyes and the smiles they tried so hard to hide. Astapor had thousands of eunuchs and even more slave boys waiting to be cut. But there were only 3 living dragons in all the great wide world. "A dragon of our choice," he said. "The black one is largest and healthiest. His name is Drogon." She nodded. "Done," she said, in the common tongue. "Done," the old Grazdan answered. Game of Thrones went all out for the loot train attack, a fiery ambush led by Daenerys and Drogon. Behind the scenes, it was a massive, exhausting production. The team used up to 8 cameras, 3 tracking vehicles, a spider cam, and even a fly cam to capture the chaos. Emilia Clarke filmed over 80 dragon riding shots, compared to just 11 in Season 6. If you thought the Dothraki riding horses and firing arrows was fake, think again. It was real stuntmen doing real stunts. This wasn't just CGI, it was relentless. Watching House of the Dragon changes how we see Daenerys. It gives context. It shows us the bloodline she comes from, full of fire, passion, and destruction. Rhaenyra and Alicent's war. That's the legacy Daenerys inherits. A divided house, a throne soaked in dragonfire. Suddenly, Daenerys' obsession with breaking the wheel makes more sense. She wasn't just trying to win Westeros. She was trying to cleanse it of her own cursed history. But that history was in her veins too. The more we learn about the Dance of the Dragons, the clearer it becomes. Daenerys wasn't just a liberator. She was a descendant of a long line of rulers who believed they were destined to rule, no matter the cost. One of the most shocking twists in Game of Thrones came in the penultimate episode, The Bells. After 7 seasons as a liberator, Daenerys Targaryen suddenly turned her dragon on King's Landing, massacring civilians and becoming the show's final villain. Fans were stunned. Social media erupted with outrage, calling the turn too abrupt, and claiming 10 years of careful character building had been ruined in 1 season. While some pointed out earlier foreshadowing of her ruthlessness, many felt the execution betrayed the Daenerys they'd rooted for. Even Emilia Clarke, who played Daenerys, admitted she was surprised by the dark twist. The choice ignited countless think pieces and remains one of the finale's most divisive moments. a turning point that split the fandom and reshaped how many people view the series' ending. Daenerys Targaryen's entire storyline in Season 2 of Game of Thrones was mostly made up just to keep her on screen. In the second book, A Clash of Kings, Dany only has 5 chapters. That's it. While Westeros erupts in war, she's stuck in Essos with no army, no allies, and no one taking her seriously, just like her brother Viserys before her. The showrunners didn't want to sideline her, so they padded her arc. She spends 4 full episodes wandering the Red Waste before even entering Qarth. That's a third of the season gone just to stretch things out. And even after she gets to Qarth, they had 5 more episodes to fill. So the show invents subplots, like the warlock stealing her dragons, which never happens in the books, just to keep Daenerys in the spotlight. It wasn't about story, it was about screen time. Daenerys' relationship with Daario is way more complicated in the books than the casual fling we saw on TV. In the Game of Thrones show, Daario's just her charming mercenary boyfriend. They flirt, sleep together, and then boom, she dumps him off screen like last week's news. It's spicy, but shallow. But in the books, it's a slow burn of temptation versus duty. Daario is flamboyant, dangerous, and unpredictable. He's everything Daenerys isn't supposed to want, and everything that tempts her. She's younger in the books, still figuring out how to rule, and her feelings for Daario pull her in 2 directions: desire and responsibility. He represents freedom and passion, but she's trying to be a queen. That inner conflict adds serious depth. The show stripped away all that nuance and turned it into a sexy side plot. But in the books, it's about identity, power, and self-control. In the show, Daenerys' marriage to Hizdahr zo Llarich was dry politics. In the books, though, we see the truth up close. Hizdahr is a partner she tolerates, not desires. His kiss is hollow because her passion belongs elsewhere, and that's never clearer than in the moment when we see her true thoughts. When Daenerys was kissing Hizdahr, she was thinking of Daario. Let's see how the book shows it. "Shall I kiss you again?" Hizdahr asks after kissing the queen. "No," Daenerys replies, comparing how the little fish in her bathing pool kiss with more fervor than Hizdahr. "I do not love you." Hizdahr shrugs. "That may come in time. It has been known to happen that way. Not with us," she thinks. "Not whilst Daario is so close. It's him I want, not you." Now, isn't that ironic? Daenerys can conquer cities, but she can't conquer her own heart. Hizdahr was very good at flirting with Daenerys that she actually considered he might make a good husband. She says to him, "Why, it must be because you have no other purpose but to plague me. How many times have I refused you?" "5 times, your magnificence." "6 now. I will not have the fighting pits reopened." "If your majesty will hear my arguments, I have. 5 times. Have you brought new arguments?" "Old arguments," Hizdahr admitted. "New words, lovely words, more apt to move a queen." "It is your cause I find wanting, not your courtesies. I have heard your arguments so often that I could plead your case myself." "Shall I?" Dany proceeds to do so, and finishes with, "There, how have I done? Your radiance has stated the case much better than I could have hoped to do myself. I see that you are as elegant as well as beautiful. I am quite persuaded." Dany had to laugh. "Ah, but I am not." "Your magnificence," whispered Reznak in her ear. "It is customary for the city to claim 1/10 of all the profits from the fighting pits, after expenses, as a tax. That coin might be put to many noble uses." "It might." Hizdahr bowed again, as deeply as before. A very limber man was Hizdahr zo Llarich. He might be handsome, but for that silly hair. Reznak and the Green Grace urging Dany to take a Meerenice noble for her husband, to reconcile the city to her rule. Hizdahr might be worth a careful look. Sooner him than Shakaz. The Shave Pate had offered to set aside his wife for her, but the notion made her shudder. Hizdahr at least knew how to smile. There was a brave boy that tried to kill Daenerys Targaryen, but even she felt sympathy for him. Dani sits on her Meereenese throne. A boy came, younger than Dani, dressed up in a frayed grey tokar. His voice broke when he told her how 2 of his father's household slaves had risen up the night the gate had broke. One had slain his father, the other his elder brother. Both had his mother before killing her as well. The boy had escaped with no more than the scar upon his face. But one of the murderers was still living in his father's house, and the other had joined the Queen's soldiers as one of the mother's men. He wanted them both hung. I am a queen over a city built on dust and death. Dani had no choice but to deny him. She had declared a blanket pardon for all crimes committed during the sack, nor would she punish slaves for rising up against their masters. When she told him, the boy rushed at her, but his feet tangled in his tokar and he went sprawling headlong on the purple marble. Strong Belwas was on him at once. Enough, Belwas, Dani called. Release him. To the boy she said, treasure that tokar, for it saved your life. You are only a boy, so we will forget what happened here. You should do the same. But as he left, the boy looked back over his shoulder, and when she saw his eyes, Dani thought, the harpy has another son. Daenerys gets a lesson in slavery when Xaro offers his exotic slave dancers to her in Meereen. They are expert in all erotic arts as well. I had thought to make your grace a gift of them. By all means. Dani was unsurprised. I shall free them. That made Xaro wince. And what would they do with freedom? As well, give a fish a suit of mail. They were made to dance. Made by who? Their masters? Perhaps your dancers would sooner build, or bake, or farm. Have you asked them? No man wants to be owned. Xaro gave a languid shrug. As it happens, when I came ashore in your sweet city, I chanced to see upon the riverbank a man who had once been a guest in my manse. A merchant who dealt in rare spices and choice wines. He was naked from the waist up, red and peeling, and seemed to be digging a hole. Not a hole, a ditch, to bring water from the river to the fields. We mean to plant beans. How kind of my old friend to help with the digging, and how very unlike him. Is it possible he was given no choice in the matter? No, surely not. You have no slaves in Meereen. Dani flushed. Your friend is being paid with food and shelter. I cannot give him back his wealth. Meereen needs beans more than it needs rare spices. Would you set my dancers to digging ditches as well? Sweet queen, when he saw me, my old friend fell to his knees and begged me to buy him as a slave and take him back to Qarth. She felt as if he'd slapped her. Buy him then. If it please you, I know it will please him. This is what happened after Daenerys refused to accept Xaro and Qarth's 13 ships to sail for Westeros. Xaro's glad smile died upon his lips. What are you saying? Are you telling me you will not go? I cannot go. Tears welled from his eyes. I told the 13 that you would heed my wisdom. It grieves me to learn that I was wrong. Take these ships and sail away, or you will surely die screaming. You cannot know how many enemies you have made. I know one stands before me now, weeping murmurs tears. The realization made her sad. He wiped away the tears. I should have slain you in Qarth. I was a guest beneath your roof and ate of your meat and mead, she said. In memory of all you did for me, I will forgive those words. Once, but never presume to threaten me again. Xaro's Ondoxis does not threaten. He promises. Her sadness turned to fury. And I promise you that if you are not gone before the sun comes up, we will learn how well a liar's tears can quench dragonfire. Leave me, Xario. quickly. Egg might have been the one to turn Daenerys crazy, because Targaryen madness is a cycle. So, Egg became crazy after growing up with Aerion, who, in the books, threatened to cut off Egg's private parts so he could be a girl and Aerion could continue the Targaryen tradition of marrying brother and sister. Then Egg passed on his madness to Aerys Targaryen at Summerhall, trying to bring dragons back through human sacrifice of his own family. This, in turn, led to Aerys slowly going insane, especially after Duskendale, and then his madness spread to Viserys, which Barristan even comments on. Then, after crossing the Narrow Sea, Viserys passed it on to Daenerys, which remained dormant like Ares until the last chapter of A Dance with Dragons, where Daenerys walks through the Dothraki Sea and starts to go crazy thinking of her brother. She says, "I was weary of war. I wanted to rest, to laugh, to plant trees and see them grow. I am only a young girl." No, you are the blood of the dragon. Dragons plant no trees. Remember that. Remember who you are and what you were made to be. Remember your words. This was the life of Daenerys Targaryen before A Game of Thrones. Daenerys was conceived during the final month of Robert's Rebellion. Shortly thereafter, her mother, Rhaella Targaryen, was dispatched with the young Prince Viserys to Dragonstone to avoid the rebel host which was advancing towards King's Landing. Daenerys was born 9 months after their escape, while a massive storm howled above Dragonstone, sinking what survived of the Targaryen navy. For this reason, she is called Daenerys Stormborn. Her mother died in labor, but not before naming her. After Rhaegar's family was killed, Viserys had been anointed king on Dragonstone. Stannis commissioned a new royal navy in preparation for an invasion of Dragonstone. The garrison at Dragonstone were inclined to sell the Targaryen children to Robert. However, before they could execute this plan, Sir William Darry and several other faithful servants took the children from the nursery and whisked them into exile, traveling to the Braavosian coast. Viserys and Daenerys supposedly resided in Braavos in a residence with a red door, where Daenerys had a lemon tree outside her window. Willem Darry always treated Daenerys gently, but he died when she was 5. After his death, the servants he had employed looted all they could. The young Targaryens were evicted from the house a while after. Viserys and Daenerys departed Braavos and trekked the free cities for years. They visited nearly all the free cities, including Myr, Tyrosh, Cahor, Volantis, and Lys, and returned to Braavos at least once. Hizdahr and Daenerys actually negotiated their marriage, unlike in the show, which was quite dumb. Hizdahr says that he can stop the Sons of the Harpy killing if Daenerys marries him, and she asks, "Why would you want to help me? For the crown? A crown would suit me well, I will not deny it. It is more than that, however. Is it so strange that I want to protect my own people, as you protect your freedmen? Meereen cannot endure another war, your radiance." That was a good answer, and an honest one. I have never wanted war. I defeated the Yunkai once and spared their city when I might have sacked it. I refused to join King Cleon when he marched against them. Even now, with Astapor besieged, I stay my hand. And Qarth, I have never done the Qartheen any harm. Not by intent, no, but Qarth is a city of merchants. When you smashed the slave trade, the blow was felt from Westeros to Asshai. Qarth depends upon its slaves. So too Lys, Tyrosh, Volantis. The list is long, my queen. Let them come. In me they shall find a sterner foe than Cleon. I would sooner perish fighting than return my children to bondage. There may be another choice. The Yunkai can be persuaded to allow all your freedmen to remain free, I believe, if your worship will agree that the Yellow City may trade and train slaves unmolested from this day forth. No more blood need flow. Dani recognized the truth in his words even so. It may be that is the best end we can hope for. You have not said you love me. I will, if it would please your radiance. That is not the answer of a man in love. What is love? Desire? No man with all his parts could ever look on you and not desire you, Daenerys. That is not why I would marry you, however. He is not hard to look at, Dani told herself, and he has a king's tongue. Kiss me, she commanded. He took her hand again and kissed her fingers. Not that way. Kiss me as if I was your wife. Hizdahr took her by the shoulders as tenderly as if she were a baby bird. Leaning forward, he pressed his lips to hers. His kiss was light and dry and quick. Dani felt no stirrings. Shall I kiss you again? He asked when it was over. No, I do not love you. Hizdahr shrugged. That may come in time. It has been known to happen that way. Daario tried to convince Daenerys to do her own red wedding on the great masters of Meereen. Daenerys says, the Green Grace says that I must wed the noble Hizdahr. That one, Daario chuckled. Why not Grey Worm, if you want a eunuch in your bed? Do you want a king? I want you, she thought. I want peace. Then take me for your husband. You know I cannot do that, she almost said. You are fighting shadows when you should be fighting the men who cast them, Daario went on. Kill them all and take their treasures, I say. Whisper the command, and your Daario will make you a pile of their heads taller than this pyramid. If I knew who they were, Zahak and Pael and Marique, them and all the rest, the great masters, who else would it be? He is as bold as he is bloody, she thought. We have no proof this is their work. Would you have me slaughter my own subjects? Your own subjects would gladly slaughter you. He had been so long away, Dani had almost forgotten what he was. Sellswords were treacherous by nature, she reminded herself. Fickle, faithless, brutal. He will never be more than he is. He will never be the stuff of kings. The pyramids are strong, she explained to him. We could take them only at great cost. The moment we attack one, the others will rise against us. Then winkle them out of their pyramids on some pretext. A wedding might serve. Why not? Promise your hand to Hizdahr, and all the great masters will come to see you married. When they gather in the Temple of the Graces, turn us loose upon them. Dani was appalled. He is a monster. A gallant monster, but a monster still. Do you take me for the butcher king? Better the butcher than the meat. All kings are butchers. Are queens so different? This queen is. Daario shrugged. Most queens have no purpose but to warm some king's bed and pop out sons for him. If that's the sort of queen you mean to be, best marry Hizdahr. Her anger flashed. Have you forgotten who I am? No. Have you? Viserys would have his head off for that insolence. I am the blood of the dragon. Do not presume to teach me lessons. Leave me. Daario gave her a sweeping bow. I live to obey. Daenerys was tempted to sleep with Xaro, but he did not want to sleep with her. Xaro asked Daenerys, "And what is it that you fear, sweet queen?" I am only a foolish young girl. Dani rose on her toes and kissed his cheek. But not so foolish as to tell you that. My men shall look at these ships. Then you shall have my answer. As you say. He touched her bare breast lightly and whispered, "Let me stay and help persuade you to take these ships and sail home to Westeros." For a moment, she was tempted. Perhaps the dances had stirred her after all. I could close my eyes and pretend that he was Daario. A dream Daario would be safer than the real one. But she pushed the thought aside. "No, my lord, I thank you, but no." Dani slipped from his arms. Some other night, perhaps. Some other night. His mouth was sad, but his eyes seemed more revealed than disappointed. Kraznys should have been afraid after realizing Daenerys spoke High Valyrian.
He hears me speak Valyrian. The other slavers were not listening. They crowded around Krasny's and the dragon, shouting advice. Though the Astapori yanked and tugged, Drogon would not budge off the litter. Smoke rose grey from his open jaws, and his long neck curled and straightened as he snapped at the slaver's face. "You are in difficulty," she observed. "He will not come," Krasny said. "There is a reason. A dragon is no slave." And Dani swept the lash down as hard as she could across the slaver's face. Krasny screamed and staggered back, the blood running red down his cheeks into his perfumed beard. The harpy's fingers had torn his features half to pieces with one slash, but she did not pause to contemplate the ruin. "Drogon," she sang out loudly, sweetly. "Dracarys." The black dragon spread his wings and roared. A lance of swirling dark flame took Krasny full in the face. Daario tried to convince Daenerys to do her own red wedding on the great masters of Meereen. Daenerys says, "The Green Grace says that I must wed the noble Hizdahr." "That one," Daario chuckled. "Why not Grey Worm, if you want a eunuch in your bed? Do you want a king?" "I want you," she thought. "I want peace." "Then take me for your husband." "You know I cannot do that," she almost said. "You are fighting shadows when you should be fighting the men who cast them," Daario went on. "Kill them all and take their treasures, I say. Whisper the command, and your Daario will make you a pile of their heads taller than this pyramid." "If I knew who they were..." "Zahak and Pael and Marique, them and all the rest, the great masters. Who else would it be? He is as bold as he is bloody," she thought. "We have no proof this is their work. Would you have me slaughter my own subjects?" "Your own subjects would gladly slaughter you." He had been so long away, Dani had almost forgotten what he was. Sellswords were treacherous by nature, she reminded herself. Fickle, faithless, brutal. He will never be more than he is. He will never be the stuff of kings. "The pyramids are strong," she explained to him. "We could take them only at great cost. The moment we attack one, the others will rise against us. Then winkle them out of their pyramids on some pretext. A wedding might serve. Why not? Promise your hand to Hizdahr, and all the great masters will come to see you married. When they gather in the Temple of the Graces, turn us loose upon them." Dani was appalled. He is a monster. A gallant monster, but a monster still. "Do you take me for the butcher king? Better the butcher than the meat. All kings are butchers. Are queens so different? This queen is." Daario shrugged. "Most queens have no purpose but to warm some king's bed and pop out sons for him. If that's the sort of queen you mean to be, best marry Hizdahr." Her anger flashed. "Have you forgotten who I am?" "No. Have you?" Viserys would have his head off for that insolence. "I am the blood of the dragon. Do not presume to teach me lessons." "Leave me." Daario gave her a sweeping bow. "I live to obey." Daenerys was tempted to sleep with Xaro, but he did not want to sleep with her. Xaro asked Daenerys, "And what is it that you fear, sweet queen?" "I am only a foolish young girl." Dani rose on her toes and kissed his cheek. "But not so foolish as to tell you that. My men shall look at these ships. Then you shall have my answer." "As you say." He touched her bare breast lightly and whispered, "Let me stay and help persuade you to take these ships and sail home to Westeros." For a moment, she was tempted. Perhaps the dances had stirred her after all. I could close my eyes and pretend that he was Daario. A dream Daario would be safer than the real one. But she pushed the thought aside. "No, my lord, I thank you, but no." Dani slipped from his arms. "Some other night, perhaps." Some other night. His mouth was sad, but his eyes seemed more revealed than disappointed. Anyway, subscribe for more.